Where is that record button? There it is.
What did you just say your new nickname was?
Weeping Willow Cubic.
Excuse me.
It's kind of
Stop making me cough.
I like to say strong as bull, but that's not the truth. You know, I'm as steady as an oak or sturdy as an oak. No, I'm Weeping Willow Cubic. My limbs go everywhere when the wind blows.
Well, can I tell you this? I have a willow tree in my backyard, and it's quite delightful.
Is it weeping?
No, it's a dragon claw willow.
Okay, I've never heard of a dragon claw willow. Is it breathing fire?
No, but I haven't made it angry either, so I can't attest to that.
Okay.
It's entirely possible.
That's good. Oh, is it a whomping willow from you going Harry Potter here?
No, but thank you. No, it is a weeping. And essentially, I don't even know if it falls under the weeping category, but dragon claw is very much like a willow in that it's dirty because all the twigs and branch, they always fall off. I can mow the lawn and we bag every time just because there are so many sticks in the yard.
Oh, man.
So it's not the whippy things like, the standard weeping willow. These are actually twigs and sticks and sometimes branches, and they just break off so easily. That's hence the
weeping part.
No, non-weeping. It would be weeping hard tears because they're actual branches, not the teardrops of the wimpy weeping willow branches.
Well, this topic is making me start to weep. So let's get back to whomping willows. And what's the name of your willow tree?
It's a dragon claw.
Dragon claw. Dragon claw. That does sound like something from Harry Potter, though. It's like, isn't one of the houses Ravenclaw? You can just get a fifth house and call it
Was it
Dragon
Ravenclaw? It's like you ask these questions you already know the answers to.
I do know the answer.
Is Slytherin? Why, yes.
That's half the time. Half of the way I remember shit is to say it out loud. So I'll tell my wife, "Hey, remember that? Remind me of this." She's like, "I'm not going to remember that." No, but I will. Now that I've told you to remind me.
Wasn't one of their houses called Glenfiddich? No, that's a Scotch. I'm sorry, my mistake.
That's a Scotch, right? Yeah, it's a very good Scotch.
It's an excellent house name on Harry Potter, too. What house are you in?
Speaking of Scotch, so you got to do it with a Scottish accent, though.
Oh, Glenfiddich. I can't do a Scottish accent. I always turn into Dudley Moore.
But hey, it was worth a try, and you did your college. You gave it a college try. You did your very best.
Why, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, if you wanted in a Wisconsin accent, I can do that.
You can do Wisconsin. You can do Chicago too, huh?
I can do Chicago. It's not that tough.
But you sound tough.
Which is the main thing. And that could have been a very nice woman from Downers Grove, and she would have that same accent.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the same voice, actually. How come we didn't take the car? Yeah, like that. So this is even getting better now ever since you got us off the Weeping Willow thing. Way to go. Way to jerk the rug out from under us there, Spanky.
I'm trying to set up a scare because this week, John, is my favorite holiday. It's my two favorite holidays fall right next to each other.
Really?
Yep. And both of them are not popular with everybody. And I understand why, but at the same time, I don't care. My very favorite holiday in this entire world, Halloween.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me.
Yep. I love Halloween.
I
also grew up in the what is the self-proclaimed, and I don't even know if it's self-proclaimed. It might have been proclaimed elsewhere as the Halloween capital of the world.
And that was?
Anoka, Minnesota. Look it up, guys. Look it up. It is the Halloween capital of the world.
Well, now that you've told us, there's no reason for us to look it up.
Oh, well, it's just in case they don't believe me, they can look it up on Google. Because, if you look it up on Google and it shows up and it proves myself to be right, it's true.
If it proves myself to be right, except in your grammar.
Exactly. I have had a little bit of grammar issue this week. Grammarly issue.
Surgery, do you think?
I use Grammarly. Say that again. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Is that from your surgery, do you think?
No.
Did they remove?
That's just me being stupid.
Did they remove some, I don't know, semicolons?
Brain tissue? Oh, they're so overrated. I go for the full colon.
That's better.
Yeah.
A full stop colon. I'm sorry.
Full stop colon.
Continue with your story.
So well, that was the end of my story, really. I grew up in Anoka, Minnesota, Halloween capital of the world. Love Halloween. That's not the only reason I love Halloween. I have a lot of great Halloween memories, including the 1990-something snowstorm. I think it was 1993 or 94 snowstorm during Halloween. That was awesome. I got TP'd that night, too. I remember that. And my second favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. But not because it's Thanksgiving, not because of why we celebrate it. It's just because it's a food holiday, and I love food.
You should, by rights, weigh 350 pounds.
I should. I really should, as much as I love food.
Yeah, I kind of do, too. We're both that way.
Yes.
Happily, neither is 350 pounds, but I'm much closer than you are.
349, baby. I'm not 350.
You've lost weight. You're down to, like, what, 160
I'm
now?
down to 190.
You suck.
My goal is 185, and that's still not, according to the doctors, still not my healthy weight.
Shut up, doc.
But I don't really believe it. Yeah, because I feel comfortable around 185, 190. That's my sweet spot for feeling like I have energy, and anything below that, I just feel cranky. Anything above that, I feel slothy. So I'm going to stick to where I feel comfortable.
Cranky and slothy were two of the girls I dated in college.
I use those every year. I rotate them as my Halloween costumes.
Cranky and slothy. That's very good.
Sounds like an Addams Family member.
Nice. I weighed just about your weight when I graduated from high school.
Oh, really?
And when I went to college and somehow learned about Michelob beer.
Yeah.
And they were cool brown bottles that would sit very nicely on the light guards in our dorm rooms. We'd stack Michelob bottles across the top of the dorm room, and apparently that stuff causes you to gain weight.
No.
I know. I was shocked.
Well, you went to school in Madison, so you were a ways away from Milwaukee, pretty close. I went to school in St. Louis, which is also a big beer town. I don't know why. I mean, there's this little company there called Anheuser-Busch. It's only headquartered there. And a lot of other beer companies that are actually there as well. Not a
tiny
big beer town. When I left Anoka to go to college in St. Louis, I weighed 138 pounds.
What?
Yep. 4 years later, when I left St. Louis, I weighed 210 pounds.
I'm sure it was just because of the good food.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, there was a lot of that too. St. Louis pizza's good. So I moved away, and I worked out like crazy because I moved to Atlanta, and I got back down to about 190, moved back to St. Louis, and ballooned up to 220.
Wow.
Yeah.
You had favorite restaurants or something.
Yep. Oh, there was a lot of great restaurants. I think we've talked about restaurants before somewhere along in our great history of podcasts. The 42 episodes ago.
And what's interesting actually is the weight I gained from Michelob beer. Michelob is brewed in St. Louis.
You're right. It is.
So it's sort of like you and I were kind of crossing paths.
We were connected that early in our lives.
In a happy way.
We were connected before I was even born.
Yes, we probably were. And not in a weird way.
No, Dad.
Wow. Not at least from a chronological standpoint.
Right. So, John, I'm curious. Do you like Halloween anywhere near? You're never going to like it as much as I do. I know that, but do you like Halloween as much as I do, or near as much as I do?
Well, you're never going to like it as much as I do. Do you like it as much as I do?
You heard what I said afterwards. I corrected myself.
You're a drinker, aren't you?
Not yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I bought some new whiskey this week.
Did you?
I was in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and went I usually stay. We've talked about the Courtyard before. Stayed in my favorite hotel, and right across the street there's a new restaurant. It's actually in an old hotel building, which is ironic because the hotel that I stayed in is in a bank building across the street. Anyway, I go to the restaurant and they have a special drink on their menu, and it's their House Manhattan, and they use a rye. And hold on, let me pull it out so I remember the name, because they had a couple of different ones with similar names. Rossville Union, and it's from a place in Indiana. And so I tried it. And I'm like, oh, this is really good. So I looked up the rye to see if I could buy it in Nashville, here in Nashville. And nope, you couldn't. You can buy it in Minnesota. You can buy it in Illinois. You can buy it in Missouri and a couple other states. So, and some of them are even surrounding Tennessee, but you can't buy it in Tennessee.
Huh.
So I promptly found one liquor store in Cape Girardeau that had it, and I went and bought a bottle. And it's very, very good. I would highly recommend it if anyone listening to us actually has Rossville Union. It's obviously for sale in Indiana because it's made in Indiana. Rossville Union rye, and there's two different types. There's a barrel aged something, and then there's the handcrafted something or other. I don't remember, but it's very, very good. Highly recommended.
Which one did you get?
I got. Oh, hold on.
Oh, you have to look.
Yeah, hold on. It is Master Crafted Straight Rye Whiskey.
Okay, so then may I ask approximately the price range?
It was a little under $40.
Okay, so it's not stupid expensive like some whiskey.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Some are expensive. Like scotches, for example. I'm a fan of Lagavulin.
You've told me that before.
It runs about $85 or $90 a bottle. So I'm not as big a fan for $85 and $90 a bottle.
So and that one, if I remember correctly, that is a single malt, right?
As I recall, it is. I get confused easily, and especially when I'll learn all about it, and then I'll drink it, and then I'll forget everything.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how it goes, right?
Yeah.
So I'm actually a big fan, which is weird. I think it might not be. I'm a bigger fan of blended Scotch whiskeys, and Johnny Walker being my favorite. I usually drink Johnny Walker Black. A lot of people don't know this because a lot of people drink Johnny Walker Red because it's cheap.
Yep.
But Johnny Walker Red is designed to be a mixer. It's not designed to be drunk straight. Yes. But Johnny Walker Black being that is, and so that's when I usually drink. But if I could pick any one of them to drink, I'd be drinking Johnny Walker Blue. But that's $150 a bottle.
It is, and it's delicious too.
Oh, it's so good.
The gold is good. It's just so honey infused.
It is. So do you know that with gold, you're supposed to freeze the entire bottle?
I didn't know that. Why don't they have instructions on, or do they?
They do, or they did. They don't have it on the bottle, but they actually, so Johnny Walker will have events in different cities that you can go, and they'll teach you how to drink every single one of them.
See, I would like that job because I'd make crap up. I would say, this one is supposed to be, the Johnny Walker Pink is supposed to be drunk on your head. So you need to stand on your head, and here's a special funnel that we sell for $83, and you have to use that funnel. Now, if you want to be wimpy and go with the black, that's fine. You can just sit up normally and drink that. But if you want the full experience, go with the Johnny Walker Pink and drink it on your head.
Yep.
We could do that.
We could. That would be a lot of fun. But right now, I actually have a Johnny Walker that was aged in a wine cask, in a red wine cask.
Okay.
And that one's really good. It's really smooth. You don't really taste the wine, and it doesn't really change the flavor, but it makes it a lot smoother. So that's really good. But have you ever seen, so I've gone to those tastings, and I don't know if you've ever seen, when I actually do wear a tie and we're in the same place, have you ever seen my Johnny Walker tie pin?
I can't say that I have.
Well, next time, look for it, because I might be wearing it. I usually wear I don't always wear it, but once in a while, I'll just pop my little Johnny Walker Walking Man tie pin on
it.
But when I do, wait, that's the wrong one.
I don't always wear it because it pokes when I'm naked.
Yes. And I usually wear ties when I'm naked.
I've heard that.
in the hospital room with pecan.
Oh, Jennifer's taking my phone. I gotta go.
Talk about scary.
Oh, that was awesome.
See, good segue, John. Good segue. And you never answered my question. You'll never like it as much as I do, but do you
As
like
much
it
as I do.
up to
Yeah.
what I do? Or as much as
I used to. When I would get bags
Okay.
full of candy, I loved Halloween. And it was, as a kid, I have one story about this. As a kid, it was great. I mean, it was. We were in a small town, and so you could go door to door, and you would just load up with, and truly, a full-size grocery bag is what I would bring home. And the last year I went, I was also a manager for the high school basketball team. So, you do all the scrub work, and you pick up the balls, and you wash the jerseys, and blah, blah, blah. And our high school basketball coach, rest his soul, Wilson, was just the coolest guy and a terrific coach, and really did extraordinarily well at the high school. But he had this very high voice, and we were all scared to death of him. So in fourth grade, when he first came to the school, he said, and I'll do a pretty good impression, he would say, okay, now we're going to need to make sure and that was pretty close to the tenor of his voice, if you will. And so at fourth grade, we're laughing our butts off, and we're trying to cover our mouths and not laugh and be disrespectful, but we couldn't help it because we're kids. And here is an adult man who spoke about like this, and it was really, kind of a different thing.
Sounds very Mickey Mousey.
A little bit, but let me just tell you, the voice could get pretty intense. When he was coaching basketball games, he wasn't quiet. In the first few years, I'm sure opposing teams made fun of him, but he was a good coach. So we ended up beating their butts, and I think he just used that for inspiration. But on Halloween one year, 13 years old, I had to skip out of basketball practice in order to go trick-or-treating. And I said, Coach, I need to go a little bit early, if that's okay. And he says, oh, what are you doing, Quaddy? Well, we're going trick-or-treating. And he said, trick-or-treating? And I'm sure I was red head to foot because everybody in the entire school, I'm sure, heard it.
So that one, though, you've seen Shrek, right?
Sure.
The way you just did that sounded like the gingerbread man.
Yeah, it might have been something of that. I love the gingerbread man.
Oh, he's hilarious.
Do you know it's the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man.
Yeah. Do you know the Muffin Man? No, it was the gingerbread man talking about the Muffin Man.
It was the gingerbread talking about the Muffin. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Oh boy.
So yes,
that's funny.
My favorite Halloween story.
That's really
we have celebrated in the past. Have you gone to like adult parties and dressed up? I mean, when I say adult, I don't mean nude, but I mean adult, both kids.
Yes to both. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I've gone to a few. So, but as I think about it more, I think you're kind of leading up to something, probably unintentionally. I think the lead up, just like Christmas for me. No. The lead up to Christmas.
Yes.
The lead up to Halloween is more fun than Halloween itself.
Oh.
So on October 1st, we start watching Halloween movies. We get out and we start decorating, and we plan costumes and plan parties and things like that. Once we get to Halloween, Halloween itself is not as much fun because I really enjoy going out with my daughter and watching her trick or treat. But I can't go to the door and trick or treat. So I'm just sitting there with my neighbors walking around. Granted, we have flasks of whiskey, which is another reason to buy an extra bottle. Walking around the street, just, chilling. But that's pretty much it. That's the end of Halloween for us. And then we go clean up. So it's like all of this lead up, all of this fun. But then on the day, it's just kind of, it's the day. I have the same thing with Christmas, and people are probably going to hate me for saying that because I know Christmas is everyone's favorite, but it's kind of the same thing. The lead up to Christmas is fun. Getting the presents, getting them wrapped, getting all of the decorations up, blah, blah, blah. I could take or leave Christmas after the meal's done.
Podius interrupt us.
All right, folks. Sorry about that. We had another snafu when it comes to our audio and our recording, but I think we have it fixed this time. We are actually experimenting right now with a new system that should eliminate some of the cracking and popping that we had when John was trying to talk to us. And, I'm just going to blame John. I don't think it was really his fault, but I think it's safe to say that it's all John's fault.
I have very big shoulders.
You do have very big shoulders. You do. So I don't, honestly, because it took us a while to figure out what the problem was and get a workaround going. Like I said, I think we do have a good workaround. We'll find out when I actually have to go and edit all of this. But I think, John, I think I remember I had asked you about ghost stories and if you had any that you would be willing to share with us. So let's just jump into that, and let's get some ghost stories out to our fans out there who I am sure all love Halloween. Nowhere near as much as I love it, but they love it almost as much.
I don't have any ghost stories.
You don't?
I don't. I mean, I could make one up. But Bob and Sue went to the campfire, and Sue and Bob started to get, so I switched them up there. That's part of telling the story. They started to get a little amorous, and then before you know it, Sue feels two hands on her butt, and
I don't like this Halloween story. It's a scary story, but not one that I'm really digging right now. Oh my goodness.
See,
John, you're telling me in your 49 years of life, you have not experienced anything supernatural or anything that you would consider, even if you have a reason for it, even if you've debunked it, there was nothing just a little bit odd in your past that you can pull a story from your ass?
No. Oh, Nick. Yeah. Wow. Talk about making the impossible. No, Nick, nothing weird has ever happened to me.
I see. You're just one of the straight-laced people that nothing ever happens to.
I just don't.
Nothing in your past life?
I just don't Yes, when I was a bumblebee. I just don't recall any stories other than, and I think when we were kids, probably as Cub Scouts or whatever, sitting around a campfire and having someone tell scary stories with a flashlight. But they weren't anything that would stick with me because everybody's screaming and it doesn't matter. It's the screaming to scream. It's not screaming because you're scared.
When I was in college, I was actually part of this group that I can't remember exactly what the title was, but it was basically the governing body of our dorm system. So it was like, I can't remember what it was called, but no one was really elected. Yeah, I guess we were all elected to positions, but you also traveled to different schools to attend these big conferences that had to do with the Residential Life Association or something like that, right?
Okay.
So we traveled to Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, and we went to the University of Nebraska?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were there. And I remember it was around Halloween time, and all of the different groups from all over the country, we all stayed in the dorms, and we got together with a whole bunch of different people. There was like 10 different people from 9 or 10 different schools, and we decided to tell ghost stories. And one of the guys I was with, I thought it was hilarious. He got so scared during our ghost stories, he went to his suitcase, grabbed his Bible, and was hugging his Bible the entire time.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me one of these horrendously scary ghost stories. Wait, let me make sure I have my Bible nearby. Actually, I have my Bible app on the phone, so I'm good.
There you go. Just hug your phone. Yeah, I do. I mean, I know you always
Normally
do.
I do.
Right. Anyway, I don't know if this story is one that made him hug his Bible, because I don't think it's that scary, but it goes back. It takes the story itself is not long, but the time frame that it comes together in was a fairly good amount of time.
It sounds like the story leading up to the story takes some time, though.
Exactly. I'm trying to get everyone in the mood. I wish I could have some spooky music in the background.
Well, I can get some. Will you give me crap for messing with the copyrights?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's copy. I'm not going to do it. I was going to pull up my Scary Sounds app. Okay, so as I have stated before, I grew up in Anoka, Minnesota. Anoka is not just the Halloween capital of the world, but I've been told that the name is Native American for land between two rivers. We lived on the Mississippi. I actually lived in a community called Ramsey, and it's right next to Anoka, but Anoka was all encompassing of all the communities around it. So I lived in Ramsey, and we lived right on the Mississippi River. And when I say right on the Mississippi River, we were 30 yards. The back of our house was 30 yards from the edge of the water.
So you weren't really on the Mississippi. If you were in a riverboat, you'd be on it.
Oh, good Lord. Let's cut it out with you got me. Now you got me
cut
flustered.
It out. Ghost stories should never be flustering.
That's not the ghost story. It's my grammar.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Grammarly. I'm just going to call you Mr. Grammarly from now on.
Please do.
I don't have to pay for Grammarly anymore. I've got you.
Heavy on the mister.
Right.
Okay, go.
So anyway, 30 yards from the river. In the summer, the water got low enough usually that you could walk across. We used to hit balls across. So it's not a very large part of the Mississippi River. So when people are imagining a Mississippi, they're probably thinking New Orleans, they're thinking St. Louis, very, very wide, a mile across at parts. No, it was less than 200 yards across in the summer.
And shallow.
And very, very shallow. So summer, when I was 12, my stepbrother, we had some friends that lived across the river, also people that were in the car business. He actually still owns a car dealership. Anyway, 12 years old, we crossed the river to go see our friend across the river. And the property across the river is a different city. It's not any part of, at that point, was any part of any metro area. It was actually farmland. And this person he grew up on that property in the farmhouse that used to stand on the property. When he was older, he took over the barn and redid the barn and made it a house. And that's what is over there now. That's where he lives. So we went over to the barn and we were hanging out there and talking. And I don't know how we got on the topic, but we got on the topic of ghost stories. So he said, well, when I was a boy, we lived in the farmhouse and it was 100 yards away from the barn, and it was a little white box, square. It had 2 floors, and he was in his bedroom on the 2nd floor. And one morning he woke up to a man standing in the doorway of his room. Now, he described the man as wearing a black coat that went about to the mid-thigh and a bowler cap. And he was very specific to say, have you ever seen that painting where you've got the gentleman wearing the coat down to the mid-thigh with the bowler cap, and he has an apple in front of his face? Are you familiar with that painting, John?
I can't say I am, but okay.
Have you seen, I can't remember the name of the movie. It had Pierce Brosnan in it, and he was a very wealthy man, but he was also a art thief.
Yeah, I kind of do remember. I remember that concept, yeah.
It was a remake, yeah. Yeah, so that it was very prominent in that film. So if anyone looks that up, and you'll see the painting in there. So he said he looked very similar to that, but he didn't have an apple in front of his face, obviously. So he's just standing there staring at him. And of course, he's a young boy. I think he said he was 10 or 11. And he looks at this guy and he's like, who are you? What do you want? And the guy just turns his head to the right and boom, disappears. So his name is Jim. He's obviously very upset. He runs out, around to the staircase, runs down the stairs, and he's looking all over the house. He goes into the kitchen. He walks out into the living room where the front door is, and the front door is wide open. And then there's a screen door that has the spring that should make it spring shut, but that's wide open.
What?
And the man is standing there in the doorway, not touching the doors, not holding anything open. The doors are just open. And now Jim's freaking out, and he looks at the guy and starts yelling at him and saying, I'm going to call my parents. Who are you? Why are you here? What do you want? And the guy just looks up. Boom, he's gone. Just disappears. Jim runs out the front door and he's looking all over. He turns around, he looks to the top of the house, and the guy's standing on the peak of the roof on the top of the house. And Jim's just looking at him. He's just speechless at this point. He's like, how did you even get up there? He just doesn't know what to say. And the man looks at him and then looks at the river, and then boom, he's gone. Never saw him again after that. So that's kind of a freaky story, right? So I'm 12 years old. We cross the river. We go back. I never bring that story up again. I never talk about it. I never tell any of my friends. This is just something between Jim, my brother, and I we were over there. Fast forward to, I was about 16, maybe 17 years old. And our house was built it was a rambler or a ranch style house, depending on what part of the country you're in. But it was like two ranch style houses put together in kind of an X or a cross. So one end of the house, the one that's closest to the river, had our dining room and living room, and it was carpeted, and it had windows on all of the three sides, so you can see out to the river. And it had some shades that you could put down. And then my bedroom and my parents' bedroom were on the complete opposite end, and there was a long hallway that connected it. So I had some friends over, and they were sleeping in the living room. And for some reason, I was staying in my room. I think I needed the alarm clock, and I was too lazy to move it down there, or we only had two couches, and I didn't want to sleep on the floor. So I had my door open, and we were talking down the hallway, and it's a fairly long hallway. And it's the middle of winter. And one thing about the middle of winter in Minnesota, specifically about where we live, is we never went into the backyard in the winter because we just couldn't. There was no reason to, and it was just snow. And then we had about a foot of snow at that point, and it came all the way up to the windows, and it was just pristine snow, just completely undisturbed by anything or anyone because no one had been back there. And we had a series of sliding glass doors, and that on those three sides, right? So we're shouting back and forth. It's about 11 o'clock at night. My parents aren't home. We're just staying there, and we're just kind of having fun talking. The shades are drawn outside, but for some reason we had all of the lights on in the backyard. We had a series of lights that were pointing back towards the pool, and the pool was between the house and the river. And they were all on, so they were illuminating the curtains coming from the outside. And all of a sudden, my friends went completely silent. And I'm looking down the hallway. I don't see anything. And I'm like, maybe they fell asleep. And then all of a sudden I hear this. It sounds like someone is trying to rip open one of the sliding glass doors. We have the alarm on, so this should have triggered the alarm as hard as it was being pulled, but it didn't. And then I hear it just went quiet again. And I'm like, guys, what's going on? And they said, Nick, are you out I thought you were out in the backyard. I'm like, no. And then they came running into my room. And so I walked down to the living room, and I'm like, I don't see anything. And so, everyone calmed down. We went to bed. I asked them, by the way, I forgot that part. I asked them, what did they see? And they said they saw a shadow of a man walking up from the river, not all the way from the river, but it was walking from in that direction from the river towards the house across two of the windows to the furthest back sliding glass door. And that's when we heard the yanking of the door. And then they saw the shadow walking back towards the river. And they said just that shadow alone looked like he was wearing a coat down to about the middle of his thighs. And he was wearing a cap that made his head look round, like a bowler cap. I'm like, okay, that's really strange. And then the next morning we went outside to look and see if there were tracks, like if someone had actually come up to the house. No tracks in the snow. None whatsoever. So then I of course, told them the story about the person across the river, and they never stayed at the house ever again.
Well, of course not.
Yeah. So that's my ghost story.
Wow.
That's one of them. And a few other things happened, but they're not anywhere as in depth or as scary as that. But my brother has stories because he's 18 years older than I am, and he grew up in that house too. And there are things that happened. He and one of his friends actually burnt down the house at one point. But before that, there were a few openings in different places that don't exist anymore that he claimed were haunted because doors would open that weren't supposed to open and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Look, I've never been so the shows on, what is it? One of the TV channels that are the
Sci-Fi. There's one on A&E. There's one on Travel Channel.
I want to say A&E probably is what I see, or maybe Travel Channel too. But some of the Ghost Hunters and whatever the
Ghost Adventures.
Okay, all right. Many of them. And I admittedly don't watch them for a long time. So, I'll watch for a minute and a half and turn them off because they really don't hold much interest for me. But many of them are just, They kind of remind me of it's probably the Geico commercial where the kids are in a Halloween movie and they no, don't get in the running car. That'd be stupid. And so let's go buy chainsaws or
Right.
and the scary guy is sitting there and lifts his mask up. He's the actor with the crooked face, and
right.
he just rolls his eyes. It's awesome. That's kind of how I view many of these.
Okay. Well, I'm the same way.
Your story is different.
I feel the same way about those programs as you do.
Yes.
All except for Ghost Hunters. I do enjoy Ghost Hunters, but I think the only reason I like it is not their whole purpose, but a lot of what they do. For the most part, there are a couple guys in there. I'm like, come on. And I roll my eyes at him. But the main guy, at least, he tries to debunk everything before he'll even get close to believing that it's truly supernatural.
Uh-huh.
And I like that, go in and try to debunk it. If you see a what looks like a ghost figure and out of a security camera, and then you walk up to the camera and it has a cobweb in front of it.
Yep.
Yeah. So that makes sense, right?
Sure.
So I do like that part.
And that's look, it's TV, so there's production value in much of it. And right. I look at HGTV where they're just doing a house renovation. No, they make half of the crap up and situational stuff. And I've known some people who have been in several of the shows.
Yeah,
and you just kind of go, really? Oh yeah, we had bought the house 3 months before they started shooting, and
I actually have a bookshelf here in my office that came from one of those shows.
Is that right?
Yeah, I had a girlfriend that was actually one of the set designers. She was a set designer. And so we got a couple of pieces of furniture, and I kept the bookshelf.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you split up, but you got the bookshelf.
I got the bookshelf.
That's a pretty good deal. What did she get? Just curious.
A TV.
Oh,
a TV and one of my dogs.
Wow. And the TV, how many years ago was this?
Oh, it was a big TV. It wasn't a flat
screen. So it was a crappy 36. It was a
big,
heavy
crappy
TV.
36-inch. Yep. Behemoth.
Yeah.
I was happy to see it
I'd
go.
say you did very well with a bookshelf.
Oh yeah, I really did. And it's lasted like 10 moves. So
that's good.
I don't think it's going to be able to be moved one more time. It's pretty flimsy right now, but it's holding my printer, my TV, and most of my books.
So we have in common the fact that we moved several times. Both of us have. And did you ever have a waterbed?
No.
Because you're too young for that.
No, I'm not too young. I actually had friends that had waterbeds when we were younger. Okay. So I have experienced them, but I had never owned one.
We owned one, and it was back then, it was supposed to be a nice one. And so it was. This was actually pre-marriage, probably just after we got married. And pre-marriage, we got it and kept it. But we moved it. I don't know how many times Lisa could tell you, probably 3 or 4, 5. And you had to drain her every time and then take the bed apart every time. It was, screwed in. And finally, we got rid of it because seriously, it wasn't that awesome anyway. I never thought it was. But it was a big king-size bed, and man, that was the thing. You wanted to have a water bed.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, I think it's Tempur-Pedic or the memory foam. So before we got married, Jen had a Tempur-Pedic, and it was a great bed. Mm-hmm. But then, of course, I wanted a king-size bed. So now we have a knockoff that's not anywhere near as good, but it's still nice. It's comfortable.
I will do a quick ad for a company near me. They actually make them in the factory of the company. It's called Verlo, Verlo mattresses. And I had a really nice experience when we went into the store. I'm not much of a go try it on, but there are certain things that you have to try out, and a bed's one of them.
Right. Absolutely.
I think it's part of the same reason people very seldom buy vehicles sight unseen. And I mean, no offense to Carvana or anybody else, but the vast
I'll take offense for that for them. From
the you. Vast,
I'm taking offense.
I don't care. The vast majority of people buy their vehicles only after they see them or drive them, and or both. So the point is, I think when you can check out the bed and sit in it and sit in multiple beds, it helps. So we ended up getting a one it's called a hybrid, and it's softer than I would used to have thought that I would like, but it also is kind of a memory foamy as well. So it's just really awesome. It sleeps quite well, and it's got the tilt and telescopic.
Oh, nice.
Thing.
Yeah, we don't have that. Ours cost a whopping $75 after I used coupons and
nice.
And yeah, so
but
it's not bad. It's really good. It's a little bit softer than our other one, and I think we. Well, honestly, I would pick the one we sleep in, but my wife would pick her old Tempur-Pedic.
Oh,
so we need to get a Tempur-Pedic that's kind of like the one where you can pick your number on either side and adjust it. So we need a Tempur-Pedic that does that.
So,
but I don't know if they make those yet.
Yeah, I don't know. They have the what's it called? It's the
sleep number.
Sleep number. That's it. They have those stores all over.
Yeah, and I think we're talking about doing one of those next, but I don't know.
Check it out. See. Check it out. Take us with you. We can podcast
we could do a PoddiMouths podcast from the
while you're at that store,
sleep number store.
I think that would be good.
But maybe there'll be money in bed.
Not if you're with Jen. She would never leave you money. Anyway,
Wow. Wow. Hopefully she doesn't listen to this. Honey, if you're listening, I didn't say it this time. I didn't even think it.
I was standing up for her.
But so I want to go back to that really quickly because I think I'm one of those weird people that is not in the majority, because unless it's a used car, I agree with you 100%. But even the last car that I bought, the one that I bought for my wife, I literally went to the website, looked for all the features that I wanted in it, or I knew she wanted in it, and I said, I'll take that one. Write me up.
And
I didn't even look at it. I mean, literally the first time I laid eyes on it was when they had cleaned it up and pulled it around for me.
Why didn't they just bring it to your house?
A dealership. Do what?
Why didn't they just bring it to your house?
Because I was at the dealership.
Oh, why were you at the dealership?
I was in a meeting.
So you didn't buy it online?
No, I didn't buy it online.
Okay, good.
If I would have been able to, I probably would have.
Let me ask you a question. Had you gotten there and sat in the vehicle and found out it was extraordinarily uncomfortable, would you have left with that vehicle in it?
No, I don't. I had ridden in a similar vehicle and didn't find it uncomfortable, so I knew it would be pretty much the same.
When you say it's a similar vehicle,
it was exactly the same car. It was just different. It's like it was a year older, and it was a rental car, and I was perfectly comfortable in it, and it wasn't the same trim level.
But had you gotten in it and this one was uncomfortable, there but some change in seats or something?
Well, no, because I can't say the same for my wife. She probably would have. I was going off of what my wife wanted. She had sat in it before and liked it, the rental car.
Got it.
So if I had not sat in the rental car, no, it wouldn't have made any difference. Now, I say that, if I'm going to buy a car for myself, and so I can see where you're going with that, but I would still buy online after having rented a car and knowing but I still
I'm still, and maybe I'm old school, but so is, again, the vast majority of the population still ends up going to a dealership to consummate the sale. Everybody does research online. There's no question.
Right.
How deeply you get into it is really the question. I at some point, I still enjoy driving them and seeing them, and and again, not everybody is like that. I get that, but I still enjoy the new vehicle part of it.
It's safe to say that there are very few people that are like that. I know for a fact I am in the minority. I don't really care that a car is going to drive. I'm more interested in the looks of the car, the technology of the car, and the perceived comfort. I don't have to sit into it. Like, I know that a Mercedes is going to be a lot more comfortable than a Yugo.
I would concur. And Yugos, you just can't find them. I've looked. Yeah, you just can't.
Yeah. But you get the idea. I didn't want to call anyone out.
So let me just give you some credibility here. Not that you need it. Yeah, you do, in a big way.
Yeah, I really do.
No, I actually was, before we ended up on Lisa's new car, which
yeah, you never told us what it was, by the way. Are you going to?
I can if you think I should.
It's up to
it
you.
Doesn't matter. I own one from the primary OEM for whom we work, so I don't think I have to own two from them.
No, but well, let's put it this way, because you have told us what she used to drive. Is it the same make?
It is.
Okay, then those people will know, and the other ones will just have to figure it out later.
No, they'll just have to listen to all the other podcasts.
That's what I'm saying.
So, but the thing is, if you have leased, and that's when we decided to lease. If you've leased from an OEM and you are considering another lease, they make it so attractive. It's tough for if they do it right, it's tough for other manufacturers to get you to come to their team.
Yeah.
Because they actually credited us 4 car payments. So we got into it 4 months earlier than we were supposed to be able to.
Oh, wow.
They gave us a $2,000 rebate toward the lease. There was something else. I got a discount for being a Costco member, and it was a loaner car, or like a courtesy car. So I got a discount because of that. So it was something that I don't know as we could have gotten a better deal on that type of a vehicle. And she liked it, and so off we went.
I recently tried to do that with a BMW.
Did you?
Yeah,
a new one?
It was a new one. Well, it was a loaner car like that.
Yep.
It was still new because it was never titled. And I tried to lease it, but I still was so far upside down in my current car.
Sure.
It just didn't make sense.
Well, and so to that point, before we looked at that, one of the things I was looking at was Carvana to find either a used Mercedes or a used Beamer. Mm-hmm. And found some nice ones and some that would have worked just fine. Carvana, to me, that's the real advantage they have, is the large amount of inventory. Because I honestly, once I made the decision to buy, I don't know if I get it for a week or 10 days or whatever their benchmark time frame is. That part doesn't bother me. Is it the right car, and is it a nice one? And based on the miles and their inspections and all of that, and the fact that you have 7 days to check it out, I think it was fine. I wouldn't be scared of it. However, a friend of mine who got a car on Carvana received the vehicle. They brought it to him, and it smelled like smoke.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I would be out.
Yeah, I can see that, definitely.
Yep.
It's tough. And I don't know how I've heard horror stories about how they recondition their cars. I don't know if they're true, but I've been told, okay, good job, Clyde.
Clyde's the dog.
Yes, Clyde is he's the galoot, as my wife calls him.
Big puppy.
He's not that big, but he definitely acts like it.
He acts like he's big.
Yeah, he just bumps into things, knocks things over. His head is always about where your knee is. So whenever you're bending your knee for something, walking even, it just hits his head naturally.
Big galoot.
He's a big galoot. Anyway, Carvana, I don't know how they recondition, but I've heard horror stories that it's not the best conditioning. That's not to say that I wouldn't buy from them either. I think it's a great service. My biggest concern is I did a preliminary credit on one of them once just to see how it went. And I don't have I don't have perfect credit, but I don't have bad credit. I actually have very good credit. Mm-hmm. And my interest rates were still way higher than I'd feel comfortable ever buying a car at. So I thought, I wonder what someone with perfect credit would actually get on with their bank or through their bank for Carvana. And I don't know if I would trust it. So that kind of has me a little bit leery about it. Can you really get a good deal on on the car?
Well, I mean, if you're going to get financing somewhere else, secure financing through a credit union or something like that.
You can do that. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's not hard to do, but it's still, if you truly want to make it easy and you truly want everything done in the same place, and there are probably people that don't know any better and probably go ahead and do it. And that's probably why they're making a lot of money. But
that's a good point.
Knowing what I know,
they're really not making any money. But
right, no, they are. I mean, they are and they're not. I have stock.
They're not profitable.
I have stock, and it keeps going up, and that's all I care about.
Well, the stock is going
it's profitable
up, but the company is not profitable. Yeah, well, that's true. And so everybody always says, "Well, Amazon didn't used to be profitable." Okay, I'll grant you that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so No, I do think I'm in the minority. Like I said, I don't really care unless it's used. I would like to touch and drive a used car because I don't want to inherit other people's problems. But when it comes to a new car is a new car. There are a few things that I would have to avoid that I would know. For example, I know when I climb into a seat of a sports car, my ass is probably not going to fit very comfortably in the seat. So, I would have to drive it before I bought it. But
you should just have. I'd like you to customize this seat.
Yeah,
customize the seat. Well, and that's true. And you're going to get that with some. But I have to say this in my dealership's defense, it was the best. And I've owned 35, 40 cars over the course of my life, a lot of vehicles. Because when you're in the car business, you kind of do. Those opportunities cross your path. And this was the best dealership delivery experience I've ever had. Even when I was running the dealership and I bought a car, it wasn't that good a delivery.
So, you didn't handle the delivery yourself?
Yeah, exactly. I did it. So, yeah, you're not that good. Shut up and drive the car. That's what I said. But
you're an idiot if you don't take this roadside assistance.
Exactly. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to be an idiot then. You shut up. And it was kind of a long delivery. But this truly was. And a friend of mine runs the store and a friend of mine owns the store. He's even so kind, the dealer who's been there for years, called me after the delivery and just said, John, I just want to thank you. We really appreciate your business and good to have you back again. That's sort of a thing. So just everything about the delivery was exceptional. So it's good to know, no matter what people say bad about dealerships and how it is to do business with them, there are still some good ones out there. It's just they're kind of few and far between. So
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have a bad dealer I deal with. They're all excellent,
wonderful people,
beautiful people, great dealerships, great processes. They sell a lot of cars and they treat all the customers perfectly. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, let's talk about lawyers then.
I love every lawyer I've ever come in contact with.
I love
they are the best people out there. They're the nicest people. And they're willing to bend over backwards.
Wow. You are very easy today. How about TV repairman? How about somebody from AT&T?
Oh, fuck AT&T.
Yes. You're welcome, Eric.
Oh, speaking of,
yes.
Well, not really. I was segue. I think
that was the worst segue.
I know.
It's speaking of that,
it's coming to the end.
Never mind.
It's time to go. I don't want to sit here and do a Minnesota goodbye. John commented earlier because of the system that we've switched over to. When I first popped up, it actually brought up my video. And he's like, "You're wearing a Minnesota sweatshirt."
That's exactly how I said it.
He's been drinking too. Yes. He's kind of slurring his words. Sweatshirt. I'm like, yeah, I'm wearing a Minnesota sweatshirt. What do you got? You got something bad to say about Minnesota, punk?
Wow.
Anyway.
Yeah. Fortunately, I'm wearing my firearm shirt.
Does that mean it's on the sleeves? Your arms are on fire?
Wow. Yes. I have what's the t-shirt on the funny t-shirt stores? They have the right to bear arms.
Yeah.
So they have arms from a bear on the guys. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. On that note,
that's a good note.
Folks, head up to our website, www. I know I don't have to say that, but I just like saying it. Head up to PoddiMouths.com. Check out our social media networks. You can get to them from there. Leave us some comments. And hey, honestly, if you've got any ghost stories or really good stories, I don't care if we have to go past Halloween to tell them. I would love to do. I mean, I'm going to steal this from other podcasts that I've listened to. I would love to hear some listener stories. So if you've got any good ghost stories, let us know. Either we'll read them on the next podcast or one of the other podcasts, or maybe we'll invite you. If it's really good, we'll invite you on as a guest to tell your own ghost story. I think that would be a lot of fun. So head up to our social media networks. Give us some things to talk about, some more random topics, and we'll plan for them. And then also subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. or you can listen to us online at, like I said, PoddiMouths.com. That's PoddiMouths.com. I'm probably going to sue for that too.
Beautiful voice.
Thank you. And then, we also have that Eat, Drink, Road. John finally sent me some pictures of there, so I'll get some things happening. And hopefully you'll all tune in next week. John, anything that you are burning to say on this podcast today?
I love when you end because you go until you can't go any longer.
That's just my life. That's how I do everything.
I'm out.
He's still going. He's still going. He's going to die.
Breath.
Oh, there he did. He's face down in the dirt.
Breath.
Yep.
But he gave it all till the end.
That's right.
It was great having you here today. We can't wait to see you again next Tuesday. Make sure you make a note of it. Probably a good idea to set an alarm on your phone so that you know.
Absolutely. Or from our website, can you hear my dog flapping her ears in the background? That was annoying.
That's awesome.
That was Bonnie. So first Clyde was over here knocking things over, and now Bonnie's over here going flap, 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 flap.
Yay, Bonnie.
She's trying, you know what? She wants to be part of the Halloween episode. And she's pretending she's a bat. There you go.
That's pretty scary.
On that note, bye, everybody. Have a great week.
See ya.